Self-fertilization is the reproduction of an individual with itself. Many plant species are capable of self-fertilization via self-pollination. Their own pollen fertilizes their ovules. But what are the genetic consequences of self-fertilization? To answer this question, we will work with an imaginary population characterized by one gene with two codominant alleles. If the mating in the population is done at random, as is often the case with the wind-pollinated plants, each individual will produce its gametes, and then the gametes will randomly unite in pairs to make the offspring. Homozygote individuals can have homozygote offspring if two of their own gametes unite, or if their gametes unite with an identical one from a heterozygote individual. They can also produce heterozygote offspring via cross-fertilization with gametes from other homozygote or heterozygote individuals. The heterozygote individuals can produce homozygote offspring if they self-pollinate or if their gamete encounters an identical one from another homozygote. Heterozygote individuals can also produce heterozygote offspring via self or cross-fertilization. If we assume that all individuals in the population have the exact same number of offspring, that the population size does not vary, and there are no other evolutionary forces, then it can be easily shown that the frequency of homozygote and heterozygote individuals does not change between the parental and the offspring generation. Moreover, the frequency of different alleles, or the genetic diversity of the population, will not change. The parental generation had 50% of blue and 50% of yellow alleles, and so does the offspring generation. As long as the population is under random mating, the frequencies of the homozygote and heterozygote genotypes, as well as the overall genetic diversity of the population, will remain the same. But what happens if the mating in the population is not done at random? Let's take the most extreme example where individuals can only reproduce with themselves via complete self-pollination. This can happen in cleistogamous species, such as rice and some grasses, whose flowers never open, so they can only fertilize with their own pollen. In this case, homozygote individuals will only produce homozygote offspring, whereas heterozygote individuals will produce half homozygote offspring and half heterozygote offspring following Mendel's law of independent segregation and assortment of the gametes. With this reproductive regime, the number of heterozygote individuals will decrease at every subsequent generation. If we start in a population where half of the individuals are heterozygotes, after one generation of complete self-fertilization, only 25% of the individuals will be heterozygotes. After another generation of self-fertilization, there will be only 12.5% of heterozygote offspring in the population. The number of heterozygotes will continue to decrease until eventually no heterozygote individuals are left in the population. A very important thing to notice is that the allelic composition or genetic diversity of the population has not changed. No matter how many generations of selfing does the population undergo, the number of blue and yellow alleles in the population will always remain the same. Only the number of heterozygote genotypes will change. To see how are these genetic effects of self-pollination used in plant breeding, check out this video. Interestingly, complete self-pollination actually increases genetic variation between populations. Imagine these two populations that have completely different genetic compositions, both being monomorphic for a different allele. If only self-pollination is possible, then each population will produce only homozygote offspring, and genetic differentiation between the two populations will remain at the highest level. However, if cross-pollination can occur between the two populations, there will be exchange of gametes between them, which will change the genetic diversity within, but also between populations. Within a given population, genetic diversity will increase because there are more different alleles. Between populations, genetic diversity will decrease because with every generation of cross-fertilization, the gene flow continues to homogenize their genetic compositions. So there you have it. Self-fertilization does not affect the allelic composition of the population or its genetic diversity. However, it decreases the heterozygosity levels within a given population, while it increases or maintains genetic differences between two populations. Bear in mind, however, that these conclusions are only valid for what we call an ideal population that has an infinite size, no selection, and no migration occurring.